JonBenet Ramsey was a 6-year-old girl who was brutally murdered in her family home on December 25th. Her body was found roughly 7 hours later in the wine cellar of the house with a garrote tied around her neck. Autopsy shows her cause of death was because of strangulation and blood force trauma. Ramsey was born on August 6, 1990, in Atlanta, Georgia. Her parents were JonBenet Ramsey, a businessman, and Patricia Patsy Ramsey. She had an older brother named Burke and 2 half-sisters named Melinda and Elizabeth. Elizabeth would later on to pass away. After Beth died, they moved to Boulder, Colorado, as Mr. Ramsey was the new chief executive of a billion-dollar computer company. JonBenet attended High Peaks Elementary School and was a member of the church. She won the Colorado State All-Star Pageant of 1994 when she was only 4 years old. Days prior to the murder, on December 23rd, the Ramsey family hosted their annual Christmas party. There was a silent 911 call placed from the house around 6:48 p.m., but it was reported to be a mistake. On December 25th, the family celebrated Christmas at home and then attended a dinner party with friends. They returned around 9:30 p.m., and JonBenet was put to bed to go to sleep. There was also some eyewitnesses saying JonBenet was crying at the Christmas party because she didn't feel pretty, but this isn't official in the investigation report. At 5:45 a.m., Patricia Ramsey woke up and discovered that JonBenet was missing. She found a handwritten ransom note addressed to Mr. Ramsey, claiming that their daughter was kidnapped by a group of small people representing a small foreign faction. It demanded a ransom of $118,000, which is the exact amount as Mr. Ramsey's Christmas bonus, with very specific instructions in the note. The note ended with the word victory and was signed SBTC. Mrs. Ramsey called the police, who shortly after came around 3 minutes, and searched the house and found no signs of forced entry. There was a broken window in the basement, but John said he caused it months prior when he got locked out of the house by his keys. The police told John to go search around the house to potentially find any evidence to what could have happened. John went down to the basement with one of the family's friends, finds the broken window, but a suitcase right underneath the broken window. Potentially an escape route for if there was an intruder. As he gets down to the wine cellar, he finds the body of JonBenet, wrapped in her white blanket. She had an 8-inch crack in her skull, a garrote tied around her neck. The garrote was attached to one of Patsy's paintbrushes, broken into 3 pieces. Her mouth was covered in duct tape and nylon cords tied around her wrists. John tried to loosen the cords. He couldn't get them to loosen all the way, so he just screamed, picked her up, and rushed her upstairs, but it was already too late. She was reported deceased. In her autopsy, which I will talk about later in the video, there was reportedly an indigested pineapple in her system and had vaginal damage, potentially from the paintbrush. Each of the Ramseys provided handwriting, blood, and hair samples to the police. Patsy and John did a preliminary interview, and Burke was also interviewed. Another fact about this case was neighbor Melody Stanton reported she woke up in the middle of the night after what she heard sounded like a child screaming coming from the Ramseys' residence. Let's go ahead and talk about the ransom note here. It's one of the biggest keys about this case. So, the ransom note read exactly as this. Listen carefully. We are a group of individuals that represent a small foreign faction. We do respect your business, spelled weirdly, but not the country that it serves. At this time, we have your daughter in our possession. She is safe and unharmed, and if you want her to see 1997, you must follow our instructions in the letter. You will withdraw $118,000 from your account. $100,000 will be in $100 bills, and the remaining $18,000 in $20 bills. Make sure that you bring an adequate size attached to the bank. When you get home, you will put the money in a brown paper bag. I just like to imagine that there's just a lot of money overfilling the bag. That'd be pretty cool, I guess. I don't know. I will call you between 8 and 10 a.m. tomorrow to instruct you on delivery. There is no call. The delivery will be exhausting, so I advise you to be rested. If we monitor you getting the money early, we might call you early to arrange an earlier pickup of the money, and hence something earlier pickup of your daughter. Any deviation of my instructions will result in the immediate execution of your daughter. You will also be denied her remains for proper burial. The two gentlemen watching over your daughter do not particularly like you. Damn. So I advise you not to provoke them. Speaking to anyone about your situation, such as police, FBI, etc., will result in your daughter being beheaded. If we catch you talking to a stray dog, she dies. If you alert bank securities, she dies. If the money is in any way marked or tampered with, she dies. You will be scanned for electronic devices, and if any are found, she dies. You can try to deceive us, but be warned that we are familiar with law enforcement countermeasures and tactics. You stand a 99% chance of killing your daughter if you try to outsmart us. Follow our instructions, and you stand a 100% chance of getting her back. You and your family are under constant scrutiny, as well as the authorities. Don't try to grow a brain, John. You are not the only fat cat around, so don't think that killing will be difficult. Don't underestimate us, John. Use that good southern common sense of yours. It is up to you now, John. Victory, SBTC. That ransom note is pretty poorly written, so I stuttered a lot there, but yeah, that's the ransom note. Now let's go ahead and go back to the autopsy here. It is revealed she was murdered by strangulation and skull fracture. There is no evidence of grape, but the vaginal injury she suffered is very alarming. It is suggested that the paintbrush used for the garrote was also used for sexual assault. She also had an indigested pineapple in her system, just don't know if it was eaten before or after she died. In 1999, District Attorney stated that Burke is not a suspect. The same year, grand jury recommended charges against the Ramseys for placing JonBenet in a threatening situation and for hindering the investigation. The grand jury declined to pursue an indictment. In 2002, a new district attorney got control of the case and recommended that it was a forced entry and an intruder killed JonBenet. In 2003, DNA was matched with an unidentified male, and the Ramseys were excluded as contributors. In 2006, Patsy Ramsey passed away due to cancer. Rest in peace. In 2008, the district attorney sent the family a letter saying they are completely cleared by the DNA results. In 2010, the case reopened, but obviously went nowhere. JonBenet had such a bright future ahead of her, and it is really sad what happened to her. She deserves justice. Nobody deserves to die at such a young age, and whoever did it deserves to rot in the lowest pits of hell because they are just a sick imbecile loser, right? So here's what I think happened in this case. I'll just keep it, short and sweet. I think it was either John or Burke who did it. I lean more towards Burke, and then I think Patsy wrote the letter as a cover-up because the ransom note is just too long and is kind of a low amount of money for a ransom note. And then the whole thing I really think is just a cover-up because they presumably had a lot of money. But the JonBenet Ramsey case is one of the most darkest unsolved cases in history, and there are more facts about the case than what I have said, but this is just an overview of the case as a whole. And with that being said, see you in the next video.